Serious, who's the worst human being you've ever met? My ex-landlord was a slumlord who had a history of taking his tenants to court over bullshit and winning large sums of money. Most of his tenants were low-income folks living in the shitty part of town and were in no way legally savvy. He eventually was arrested and thrown in prison for life due to multiple counts of child rape. That took a very sharp turn. But since he was sent to prison, a good sharp turn. My father-in-law told my 13-year-old son that, because I ruined my husband's life, he shouldn't have been born. My mother-in-law stood by and let it happen. The only thing I've ever done to that monster was not put up with his abuse. When my sister-in-law heard, she called my son a liar. My son tried to kill himself because of this. That was over a year ago, and we haven't seen or talked to them since. My husband considers them dead. Wait, so is your husband abusive, or on your side? Maybe monster does not refer to your husband, but I'm not sure. No. Sorry, it wasn't clear. My father-in-law is an angry, worthless piece of trash. My husband is the nicest guy I know. He lives his life as the opposite of his parents. Thank you for clarifying. Your husband sounds awesome. I may or may not have tried to murder someone else trying to clarify things. Edit, I went to school and befriended this guy who after high school kidnapped a girl, tied her up as a closet, beat and raped her or something like that. Link in description. Link in description. News article. Eek. Scary stuff. A previous boss of mine. Also, he was a friend from high school. He inherited his metal finishing company from his father, who had a drug problem. I worked for him for 8 years. I watched him screw over customers, his business partner, his employees, friends, and family. Towards the end of my employment, I made a mistake. Completely my fault. I took it on the chin. He told me that he was taking $4 an hour from me for 30 days. I didn't think it was legal. This was 25% of my pay. At the end of the 30 days, if all was going well, I would get it back. 30 days went by. I asked my pay. His response was business was slow and wouldn't be able to give it back. I continued to work because I had nothing immediately planned for a replacement job. After per talk, he kept insulting me as if it were joke. I walked up to him, shook his hand, and told him to fuck off. Worst human I've ever met. I continue to wish the worst for him every day for the last 10 years since I quit. I didn't think it was legal. Yeah, that was incredibly illegal. And depending on how long ago this was, you could still potentially take him to court to try and get that money back. Almost 10 years now at this point. Not worth the $500 or so to me. I lost someone who was supposed to be a friend and I couldn't be happier. I'm friends with his brother and I still hear stories. Karma will get his piece of shit ass. Honestly, I'd do it on principle because fuck him. My neighbor. He killed his girlfriend and dropped her body off at the hospital. Why did he drop her off? Did he want to make it look like an accident? An old co-worker of mine. Textbook definition: toxic person, non-stop manipulator, sociopath, so evil. Her relentless mental abuse of her son eventually led him to blow his brains out right in front of her. Her own son. Heartbreaking. How old was he? Not a shred of remorse, I bet. Probably used it as an excuse to get herself more attention. Sadly, you are 100% correct. My mother. She wanted a comfortable life, so she married my dad, a doctor. But she hated the family life and she hated that she was expected to have kids. So she started to harass our father and cheated on him and in short, drove him to suicide. Then, she cut off all family members and started to try and drive my brother and I, 10 and 12 at that time, to suicide too. Beating us, starving us, constantly repeating that we needed to die to amend the fact that we were ruining her life. When it didn't work, she put sleeping pills in our food and tried to stage a murder-suicide between my little bro and I. We survived. She went to jail. She got out of jail and immediately started to blame everything on us again, harassing us and all. She moved back to our grandparents' home, barred us from there by law decision, and now goes everywhere saying her worthless children abandoned her, and is perverse and manipulative enough everyone believe her where she lives. We can't even go back to our childhood place as she has turned the whole village against us. Semicolon. How is any human being able to treat children this way, leave alone her own children? I feel so sorry for you. Horrible that even the village is on her side. Absurd. I hope you and your brother are doing well now. You deserve better than this shit. Don't worry, we both are in a very good place now. She is the reason I get a nervous giggle every time someone mentions natural mothering instinct or whatever. But save from that, we did good, my little bro and I. My mom abandoned me and blames everything on me too, man. She abandoned me with her friend, who makes up stories about me to her friends who believe every word she says. I just wanna run away, or maybe even die. But I'm hopeful. I turned 17 about a month ago. Only 11 more to go. And lately it's been better. Wish me luck, people, please. Semicolon. Hang in there, mate. In trying. Thank you for the thought. I once spent a morning with Gene Simmons while working on a morning radio show. He was a total dirtbag. He spent most of the morning on the phone, off the air, promising backstage passes in exchange for sex. He was rude to everyone who didn't promise him sex. I felt like I needed a shower after he left. My brain went to Richard Simmons, and I thought, no freaking way, that's impossible. He wouldn't do that. Had to reread it. Phew. Guy in his 50s. Divorced. 2 daughters. One with mental problems. Always cheated on his wife. Spent a lot of money on gifts and champagne at nightclubs for his lovers. Ended up with the wife kicking him out. He went to live with his elderly parents. Got into trouble with a loan shark. Took advantage of being legally allowed to handle his 85 plus father's bank account to empty it to the last cent. When his father found out, he nearly died of heart attack in the bank manager's office and had to be rushed to the hospital. Survived. For a while. Oh, you've met my father, I see. The administrative manager at a company I worked for once. He would verbally abuse all his employees. Also verbally abuse people who weren't his employees. Change processes just to make things harder for everyone because he loved it. Promise stuff, not do it, and then deny the promise. One of his employees got fed up and found another job. He went to the company and talked massive shit about the guy. Even though he was a good employee, dude lost the new job. He then wore that as a badge of honor and kept reminding his staff he did that. Do petty stuff to make everyone miserable, like cutting the catering budget in half. The company was pretty isolated, so everyone ate there, and you'd need a 15-minute drive to get food somewhere else. Not to mention the time it takes to reach your car in the parking lot. He'd make that drive and have 2-hour lunches every day. Another petty thing. Close half the toilets just because. Also fired most of the cleaning staff, so they were mostly filthy. Bought the worst kind of toilet paper because people should do that at home. When they're here they should be working. If there was a simple thing he could do to help, he wouldn't do it. If the thing is complicated and hard to do but fucks over someone else, he'd do it. Why do owners and general managers give the administration of a company to a man like this? Unless there is no one above him in the company hierarchy, the staff could maybe notify his boss. I mean, he can't ignore the plead of the entire company staff at the facility. The owner was also a piece of shit and buddies with him. Somehow a couple years back the company went bankrupt because while he held his employees hostage, he couldn't do it to everyone. So the staff turnover was insanely high, which made quality quickly go downhill. I wonder why. Company went bankrupt. Sometimes the invisible hand works as it should. My stepmom. She fucked my sibling and I up. We were small children when she was introduced into our lives, and she had a lot of problems. The most prominent being alcoholism and being bipolar. She would scream at us, insult us, throw things at us, force me to eat out of the trash can, and beat me so hard I couldn't walk when I was 8. She was worse than any school bully. She would flip out when my dad/other family wasn't around, and then make us seem like the liars. I struggled to remember what was real or not real, as she had convinced me I was just imagining things for attention. I was sick a lot as a child and she stated I was doing it all for attention despite my doctors diagnosing me. If I ever accomplished something then I was her child. If I messed up or got bad grades, I was my father's child. She would take each of us out to dinner and shit talk everyone in the family, so we grew up not knowing who to trust. It ended up turning everyone against each other. We hated ourselves so much growing up. I was depressed, self-mutilated because I thought I deserved to be punished, and still have diagnosed anxiety to deal with. I still struggle making friends and having relationships. Jesus Christo, did your dad not see any of this? My dad was the main breadwinner of our family. He had swing shifts and commonly worked 3 to 4 doubles weeks. For a lot of it, he didn't see. When she beat me, my father almost killed her, but that was the only time he defended me. A lot of it, she got out of. She was very manipulative and my dad wasn't very confrontational. He is also very awkward and didn't know how to deal with feelings. How is your relationship with your father now? 2 answers. David Parker A, the toy box killer. I didn't experience anything other than him being creepy, but he was an absolute terrible human being. My stepdad. This one I experienced multiple times. Have been no contact for 15 years. Abusive alcoholic. Watched him beat my mother up countless times. When I got older teens, he'd come after me while drinking. Even sober he was a terrible person to be around. Currently living with his mother because he can't hold down a job. Still goes on rants on FB occasionally about how bad a wife my mother was. Shot at my sister's house with a rifle while my sister, Bill, and my 3 nieces were home. My sister being his biological daughter. Later he tried to kill himself in her house by slicing up his arms. Yet he won't accept treatment for anything. His family makes excuses for his behavior. Plenty of other things I'm not willing to discuss on the internet. David Parker A, the toy box killer. I didn't experience anything other than him being creepy, but he was an absolute terrible human being. Hol up. Are you saying you knew him or, at least, met him? From a previous post of mine, I grew up about an hour from Elephant Butte and spent my summers there until around age 16. David Parker Ray came up to my sister, cousin, and I while we were on vacation. We were in a public place, but he gave me the creeps. My sister convinced someone at the hotel we were at to drive us to our rental house. We were there to watch fireworks. The staff at the hotel told us he came around fairly often, and he was really weird. He was arrested like 2 months later. Fucking yikes. So I have to. My sister. She honestly ruins everything she comes into contact with. She beats children because she gets jealous of them from what I've gathered, and she poisoned multiple family pets and beat them too. She's an alcoholic and a drug addict and a hoarder. She's always been this way and she constantly manipulates family members into giving her money and tries to sleep with family members so's. Last I saw her, she stalked me at my last job and tried to get me fired by yelling in my coworkers' faces that I'm a bitch and then blew up my boyfriend's phone over not getting invited to his family's party. Not our family, my boyfriend's family that she doesn't know, and after she was so rude to him, then she left me a weird baby picture of me that she drew on. It was like a horror movie or something. My other one is a guy that used to be my friend. I got drunk, and he assaulted me, and handed me over to a guy in his fraternity that was a known predator, and watched me get raped. I tried to get help and therapy and he ended up turning my friends against me, and manipulating them that if I reported anything, that I was a racist. They threatened me and it just was traumatic. That's awful. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Internet hug. Old ex-friend of mine who passed away from fentanyl. He grew up in drug house, started smoking weed at age 7 and into meth, heroin, crack by age 14. This guy tried to kill his girlfriends while she was pregnant, tried to set people on fire, and stole my new 15 HP outboard engine right off my boat. He would often find cats and shoot them with his pellet gun when he was younger. Sexually assault girls that were only 10 to 12 years old often. He grew up in a great neighborhood after his parents won a lawsuit and got a nice house, but the bank took it since they spent all their money on drugs. When the house was taken, the backyard had so much stolen shit in it that almost half the town was coming by to get their stuff. My outboard was gone by then. People on Facebook were sad he died, but honestly the world is better without that piece of human trash. That was a bully from high school for me. He died at 25 from a drug overdose. People were saying, oh, this is so sad. No, the guy was a horrible person. This was the opposite of sad. If he was a firefighter who died saving babies, that would be sad. I was on a flight out of Las Vegas headed home after a week-long trip for work. We all got settled into our seats, and it was looking like Myra would have me at the window, another guy on the aisle, and no one in the middle. Aka, the dream. Right before the doors close, this guy gets on. He's probably early 20s, dressed like a douche, and talking loudly on his cell phone about how many women he slept with the previous week. He gets to our row and steps over the guy in the aisle seat without even asking or saying excuse me. Just steps right over him. The minute he sits down, he kicks off his flip-flops, then uses his feet to pull all the papers and magazines and stuff out of the seat back pocket, kicking them all on the floor so he can use that little pocket as a hammock for his stinky bare feet. I'm like, what a dick, but I keep my peace because I just want to get home without pissing anyone off. This guy is still talking loudly on his cell phone after the announcement to turn everything to airplane mode. Through the whole safety briefing we get to hear about this blonde chick with huge cans he banged last night. I had my headphones in and was doing my best to ignore him and watch a show. Suddenly I hear a commotion and there are 3 flight attendants all telling this guy to put his phone away, all of them basically shouting at him, as well as passengers in front and behind us. Dude, put your phone away. You can't be on your phone during a flight. Put it away. I'm almost done. Alright. One of the flight attendants tells him, if you don't put your phone away right now we are returning to the gate and you'll be escorted off by police. He puts his phone away, finally, but mumbles bitch under his breath. We get into the air and I decide to take a nap. I close the window shade and settle in. About 10 minutes later I feel this guy reach over me and pull the shade back up so he can snap pictures for Instagram. His arm is very much in my personal space, but not exactly touching me. I say, do you mind not doing that? And he says, doing what? I'm just taking a picture. Yeah, but you're reaching across me to do it. Please don't. He pulls his arm back and mutters under his breath at me. I close the shade and take a little nap. I wake up as we're starting our descent. I get my stuff arranged, garbage to the fires, etc. As we are coming down, this dude reaches over me again and opens the window shade. He then starts taking more photos out the window with his arm reaching completely across me. I'm exhausted and fed up, but I figure if I can stay quiet for 2 more minutes we'll be on the ground and I won't get arrested for punching this bag of dicks. We land and he stands up and tries to step over the guy in the aisle seat, but that dude says, wait your turn. At this point douchebag Kevin here can see the guy in the aisle is a pretty massive dude, so he doesn't drop any attitude. Once we were out of the plane and on the jetway the douchebag takes off running and pushing past people. The guy who had been sitting in the row behind me tells me, you have the patience of a saint. Man, that guy was a real jackass. I just said yeah, he was. Wasn't he? Yeah. He reached across you like 3 times. I Wilder punched him. Glad it was you and not me. I got home and promised myself I would teach my kids to never be anything like that guy. I wanna kick this dude's ass for you, bud. Nothing would have given me more pleasure than to see this kid pick on the big dude in the aisle seat. That guy would have rearranged his teeth. Reading some of these, I feel lucky that this guy's the worst I can think of. Old manager from another job. Classic one-abe alpha male / bro type who would go out of his way to find problems with your work, even contradicting himself in the process and verbally abusing people, and that's on a good day. On a bad day it was screaming and shouting, name calling, throwing shit around, physical threats. Also made everyone work 50 to 60 hour weeks and didn't give a shit about what he was doing to people's mental and physical health. My former stepmom. Why the FK would you be so shitty and mean and just hateful to a kid? The kid who barely knew his own mom and was desperate to have that mother figure in his life. But you shit on him every chance you could. Made it very clear that he was worth less than his siblings. You made life hell for him and his dad even after they left. Fuck you, Lori. You fat fucking cow. I wouldn't wish death on her cause it's my other sibling's mom. But I kinda hope she gets cancer. I wouldn't wish cancer on her. I have Hodgkin's lymphoma and have regular chemotherapy appointments. They have been pretty easy to deal with if I'm honest. Although getting an infection with a low immune system put me in hospital for a week. Maybe a more debilitating illness would be appropriate. Lol. Selling cancer as not that bad makes you a complete badass. Hope you win. My stepmother. She's a pathological liar, or thief, a narcissist, and a mentally unhinged infantile. Among the things she's done that are off the top of my head, she steals money from my dad. Filed a fake domestic violence report, also on my dad. Locked me in a hot garage during Texas summer. Used my on-the-hook bathroom towel to clean dog piss and put it right back on hook. She puts dirty dishes away as if they're clean, and gave me a nasty viral infection. She steals our things, and sells them at flea markets. She's a hoarder who trashed the house with stacks and stacks of junk. She hit me once, by the way. I was a minor during all of this, so I called the cops. They only cared about the fake domestic violence report, and jailed my father who was sleeping before work during all of this, which got me kicked out of my own home where she then turned around and IDK, dumped or sold my beloved dog, then refused to tell me where he was, or if he was even alive. But she goes to church. She's a Christian. She's fucking evil personified. I wish more of these types of religious people would realize that Jesus spent like half his time telling people that being religious doesn't automatically make you a good person. He pissed off the leaders of the church enough with this type of criticism that they had him put to death over the matter. My mother-in-law and her husband attempted to drown her oldest grandchild, baptizing her, withheld medication and contaminated food with allergens with another grandchild, pinched grandchild so hard it drew blood to wake him up, so she could hold the 8-day-old infant, Arranged for 8-year-old granddaughter to be alone with her convicted pedophile husband. Shoved the dog out of her car at 75 miles per hour. Withholds medication from her 89-year-old father. And has no idea why she hasn't met my kids. Call the police. No subreddit required. My ex. If you need a guy who can strip every shred of confidence from you, he's the man. My ex-wife. Since our divorce, she has taken extraordinary measures to alienate me from my sons. She blocks phone access, literally hides them from me, uses her friends and family to shuffle them around and keep them from me. She often takes them out of school early on the days I'm picking them up, so that I can't have our time together. She has accused me of spousal and child abuse over and over again. I have been arrested and investigated by Children's Services dozens of times, with not one single finding of wrongdoing. The courts and law enforcement have done nothing to assist me in exercising my parental rights. All the while, she acts like the poor, put upon woman with the horrible ex-husband. She even has the audacity to accuse me of not caring about my sons, because I never spend any time with them. There's a lot more, but that's the general scope. She's a monster. Is there nothing you can do? Get some proof. Consult with a lawyer. 8 years. Almost $30k in attorney and court costs. Multiple motions and hearings. And nothing has changed. She gets a stern. You need to follow the parenting plan from the judge. And we go right back to it. PD and sheriff won't enforce the order, saying it's a civil issue, not criminal. Get a lawyer and take her to court. There's no accountability or reason in the family court system in my state, apparently. All I can say is I'm so sorry. Thank you. Family friend on my mom's side in Russia ended up killing a couple of people one winter. Definitely didn't see him the next summer I came back. My uncle. He was a thief, a liar, a general scumbag, and a pedophile. Sister's ex. Snobby rich fuck who was handed everything. Fairly certain he's a legitimate sociopath and a narcissist. Used to make fun of my sister for her mental health issues and yell at her in a very violent, condescending manner as if she is in the wrong. When she would get upset about it, said she was pretty much just something to fuck after work. He broke up with her, then immediately fucked my best friend's ex, who just broke up with said best friend about a week before. Got with her, repeated the cycle. This girl lost it and jumped in front of a train. And his response to it was to go to a bar with other girls where he said, should I be happy or sad that I'm single? Piece of shit excuse for a human being, but I still can't hate him. I don't find hatred to be a reasonable emotion. But if I could hate anyone, it would be him. Wait, so that woman really killed herself because of that man? I don't understand how this shit is legal. Initials BC. Piece of shit started selling heroin at 16. Lead to the deaths of 2 of my friends. Constantly would try to get people to fight. Always trying to cause trouble. He's probably 23 right now and in prison for drugs and guns, so fuck him. An uncle I had cheated on his wife of 5 years and left their 3 kids to run away with another woman. Then demanded his ex-wife moves out and gives him the house. Scumbag. A supervisor who was woefully unqualified for his job, but tried to compensate by berating his employees and interfering with their otherwise good work. I've unfortunately dealt with way too many managers that are like this. The group of friends that without a word kicked me out of the group chat a few months after my cancer diagnosis. None of them, after I told them about it, ever asked how I was doing. Therefore didn't even know I went from stage I to 4th. One of them got married and all of them were there, but I never got an invite. And then 6 months after my diagnosis and 5 days before my birthday, I suddenly was kicked out of the GC. They hadn't talked to me for 5 months anyway. That was last year. And what irks me to this day is that they still watch my Instagram stories and like my FB posts. The fuck? They're not real friends. Try not to feel too bad about losing them. I hope you're doing okay and can find better people in your life. My old boss. He worked as the assistant director for a non-profit summer camp. I worked there as a volunteer counselor. He wanted to change a bunch of things. These included canceling 20+ years traditions, publicly shaming messy campers, banning any music that was younger than 30 years, and forcing us all to say grace before meals. We were an unaffiliated camp before him. When me and a bunch of other people tried to stand up to him, he banned us from the camp because we were distracting the campers. way to get people not to come back next year. I'm only 15, so it would probably be our neighbors whose kids dump random trash on our driveway, and if they find me and my siblings getting to the car they throw glass bottles, and whenever my mom goes to confront their mother she says, oh, well, other neighbors don't have a problem with us. I think you just hate us. And even with solid evidence that her kids did it she says, ooh, my kids could never do that. The funny thing is the kids thought it would be funny if they admitted it, to which my mother looked at where the kids were and back to their mother, and the BCH said it must be your kids' fault because I actually take care of my kids. I've never wanted to Superman punch someone more in my life than I did then. Get cameras and call the cops. Let her argue with them. I'm not sure, but throwing glass bottles might be assault as glass can be pretty dangerous if you get hit, but I'm sure the cops will have something to say either way. Definitely don't let them keep doing it though, because it will escalate, since their mom is an enabler. Seriously, I know you're only 15, but do call the cops next time. You will not get in trouble.